Hi everybody, this is Andreas Nest, business coach. So today I'm speaking to Dan Heelan from Heelan Associates, and he runs a larger accountancy practice. Is that right? Yeah.
Large always sounds funny to say, but I suppose in general terms of accountancy practices, it's getting that way. Yeah, we're up to about 16 people at the minute and growing.
Wow.
So yeah.
Well then, nice seeing you.
That's right. Thanks for
coming
in. No problem. Lovely office here.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Yeah. Very good. Just a few questions for you then. So really, could you tell us how it all started? Why accountancy? How did you get into it? What did you do before?
Great question. So the first thing I always say to people is I didn't actually like accountancy. I didn't think it was going to be something for me. My mum was a sort of a bookkeeper and accountant and did a few clients from a room in her house. Right. And as you can imagine, growing up in that environment, it was very much like, oh, it's half term. Do you want to earn some pennies or some sweets or whatever it was back then and do some bookkeeping or some accounts? The problem back then, I mean, I should say disclaimer that it's changed a lot now and the industry is a very exciting place to be, but back then it was a little bit historical. You know, you'd have an analysis pad, and you'd write down, here's all your fuel receipts. You'd be sitting there writing down what they all were, and you had Tipex if you made a mistake, and that was the most exciting thing you could do. Get to play with Tipex, that kind of thing. And as a result, was never inspired. But one of the things I always loved was business. I did it, at school. It was my best subject through to A level, and then I left to go into retail management and ended up in a bit of a career of sales. And whilst I was doing those things, I always had a side business or some sort of side hustle, as it would now be known as the term, isn't it? So people remember Clean Easy, one of the multi-level marketing. Door knocked on that and did a few other things along the side. Even tried to be like a driving instructor for a bit because I thought trying to be your own boss. And
so you had a job during the day in retail,
yeah.
And in the evenings, on the weekends, you would be working at
doing what
little side businesses.
Yeah, that's it. And whether it was buying and selling on eBay as it was in its infancy, or what was it called? It was free ads. That was it. You used to add things. All those kind of things were always of interest to me. Trying to make that. But then what used to happen is then, because I still have a moral thing that it needs to be correct and declared, when I saw what the tax man was taking from me, I got even more of an interest in the tax law. So cut a long story short, what happened then is I was living in Swindon at the time, 12 years ago, so nearly 13 now. My daughter was about to be born. I moved back to the area where we are now, around the Portsmouth area, and said to my mum, who was working still with a few clients in a room, I've got to retrain to be an accountant because I've got really good at this kind of stuff, I'll come work with you and maybe we'll do a bit of a business.
And at what age was that when you had that change of mind?
That would have been mid-20s. Mid-20s,
okay. So still in good time to have a complete career change.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose for me, I was enjoying the sales. I really liked the sales. I'd moved from a retail management career fully into sales, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. I think a lot of people don't like the sales. When they say salesman, it sounds a bit, people have a certain
they have that
stereotype.
American image of the loud bragging person that's trying to flog you something.
That's it, that you don't want, or something like that. But absolutely. The amazing thing about accountancy is that I honestly believe that it's a product that everybody should have if they need to declare tax.
100%.
Because the one thing you can do that it doesn't involve selling anything at all to increase your income is lower the tax bill. And that's what I found is I'm thinking I'm doing all this work and the tax man's taking this. They're not probably, politics aside, they're not doing a massively amazing job of what they're doing with my money. So how can I legally reduce it? And there is a lot that people can do, whether you're employed or whether you're self-employed, but especially when you get into business.
So I think a lot of people are missing a trick in the book then, aren't they? Not looking in that really seriously and seeing how they can reduce that.
And I'm sure as a business coach, you'd appreciate that you should be investing money in business and not spending it. And I think accountancy for me, for a decent accountant, is an investment because we should return what we're doing.
100%. We look at the margins of the business, right? So how can you improve your margins? Two ways you can improve your margins is either raising your prices or lowering your cost. So lowering your cost would be look at your tax bill, look at your energy bill, and all these things together then obviously have an impact. Relatively simple to do if you know where to look. And what to do, and so that's good. So for a business that is either just starting out or in its early days, what kind of things do they need to look for in a good accountant, in your opinion?
So first thing, I wouldn't be too worried about what qualification. I'd 100% ask them. So we did a video on this on YouTube. There's 10 things you should look for. But the first one for me is always, are they registered with a professional body? Have they done some sort of qualification? Because you should 100% get a better service. The other thing I'd look at is what type of accountant and what are your needs. If you're a high net worth individual and you've got a lot of money, you're going to want somebody who deals with those type of people, who knows all the different offshore tax legislation, everything like that. If you're a business person, you want someone like me and my people, which is we're business people. I'm a business person at heart. I've still got, we missed out bits of the story, but I've still got some of the businesses I started originally now.
You
and
still
they still
operate them?
well, I don't because I don't have time, but that I own them and I still keep my hand in. But they're what I call a proper turnkey type deal. They run along the side, but you want somebody with that business experience and the tax law. So that's the main one. And also, have they worked in your industry? So if you're I'll give you an example. If you're in the healthcare industry and you're a doctor or a dentist, you'll 100% want somebody that is in those environments because they're very specialist. But I'd also just generally, if you happen to be a taxi driver, do they deal with other taxi drivers? Do they understand how pay-in works? It could be very small things.
Okay, so looking for an accountant who has experience in that niche that you're working in,
that
sector you're working in.
Yeah, a bit like us. I mean, we do a lot of trade. We also do a lot of motor, funny enough. So garages, so funding facilities on how cars appear on that forecourt. We're experts. We know. We've got multiple clients that do it. We understand how to read the statements. We understand which ones are the better ones, and having that commercial knowledge allows us at the end of the year when we sit with a client to say, these guys you're paying X to. Have you considered these guys? I didn't know they existed. Oh, great. Well, actually, we know the contact. Do you want a card?
So you can help them out and work within a network of people that are like-minded and have the same business interest. So then on the other side of the coin, if you have accountants, young accountants or people that want to go into accountancy, what kind of challenges did you face apart from obviously the different bodies and the different kind of certification and professional bodies? Is there any challenges that you had to overcome?
In order to be an accountant?
To become an accountant and actually create a successful practice.
Yeah, 100%. I think, and I keep saying 100% because there's lots of 100% in this, but the main challenge I think is what you do after you qualify. So in order to be a good practical accountant, it's a little bit like being a GP, I always think. So GP must be pretty good at a lot of things, maybe not an expert in a particular specialism. And it's a little bit like that with the kind of accountants we do. We're really good in business, but if somebody wants a research and development claim, we'll put them in contact with a research and development specialist because that's what they do. They're best at that. But in order to get there, to be a general and effectively a general practitioner accountant, you have to know a lot of things about a lot of different types of tax law. And I think that it's gaining that experience. And I think it's the barrier for people if they're looking to go out on their own. And that's not for everybody. I know I think too much gets made these days. If you have to be in business, you have to do a thing. I'm not sure that's right. My twin brother tried being in business for himself, did not work out very well for him. And you'd say we're very closely related, and it's not for everybody. But so for me, the challenge is if you're looking to get in to be a very good accountant, is what you do outside of just the numbers and your qualification. Do you read business books? If you want to be in, if you want to work with high net worth individuals, read up on your international tax law. If you want to work with businesses, do you understand business and the practicalities of it? Are you good at ground level? So we have a team of bookkeepers, and all they do is bookkeep, and that's internal. So and before you can be a good accountant, you need to be a phenomenal bookkeeper if you're working with those type of things. Absolutely. So it's getting that experience, because quite often it's chicken and egg, and I think you have to have a genuine interest. So when I look to recruit for my team, I'm interested in people that have got a genuine interest in business, genuine interest in service, and all those elements. So if you're looking to try and break into that environment, they're the things I think that you overcome.
So learn to understand a specific area, and ultimately will then attract people from these areas because you're knowledgeable about it, and you can then kind of almost attract the right people into your practice.
That's it. I think you've got to be passionate about it. If you're not interested in that particular area, it'd be like being a property accountant and not be interested in property. It would be, or not own it yourself. And that's very much it. And I don't necessarily think you need, going back to the point about choosing accountants, if you're in business, I don't necessarily think you need to go to necessarily deal with an accountant that is in business on his own. But you want to deal with somebody that deals with other business owners or deals very closely with somebody it is. So in our practice, we're open office. I talk all the time about business. Our accountants read business material. It all happens, and we drive them to do that. So if you're dealing with people in that environment, fine. It doesn't have to be, because actually you'd argue some of the one-man band accountants are probably bad business people. So it's not necessarily about that, but I think it's trying to find that fit.
That's interesting. Any other challenges that you came across in your kind of progression and your evolution as a accountancy firm?
I'd say it's people and people.
Managing people.
And I was lucky from an early age of managing people. I mean, at 19, I think I had 53 people in my team in retail. And I was on a very fast tracked. I was very lucky actually. I didn't go to uni. Fast tracked into retail management as it was then. And I was very lucky to work with one of the best managers that I'll ever work with, who taught me a lot about how to deal with people, and also how to get rid of your own ego quite a lot. It's a bit of a joke about internally about, I will say, come on, let's have a competition. I'm the best. Let's go. But it's all an internal joke. But when you're 19 and you do think you're God's gift, I think you need a bit of realism given to you. And I was very lucky.
You need a bit of
100%. And he would tear me to pieces over it. And I think it's the best thing I ever received as a work in education. But I can't remember where we ever got to them, but in terms of challenges and growing the business, people's always been the main one. So I had a good idea of, I know how to interact with people, but sometimes you can be too nice, and it's that experience of doing it all, but also finding the right people to fit. Because you can end up with a team of people that are just like you. That doesn't always work. You need different personalities, different jobs. You and I talked off camera, didn't we, about personality profiles, which we're running. So you can try and understand the differences a little bit.
Breaks and all that.
And try and get it. And I think getting the right person, and if you can't get the right person, understanding the time and effort it takes to actually create that person through training and development. And we do that a lot, because the type of not being an accountant, coming into an accounting environment, there was a lot of practices that I felt just did not make sense to me. So we don't do them. So when you recruit from another practice, they're like, do you do this thing? Nope. No, we don't. And then you need time to get people thinking the way we think, and regardless of how experienced they are. But I think there was a recent survey done in the accounting industry, and I think most owners cite lack of talent as part of one of the barriers.
That's interesting.
And again, I mean, you must know as a business coach that sometimes with people it's chicken and egg. You can't really afford them, but you can't not afford not to have them. And it's at what point do you do it? And have you got the ability to flex your own income down or other things in the business to afford them?
It's the old saying where they say, saving a wage may cost you a fortune. Because obviously, you're saving on the wrong spot. If you want to grow as a company, you do need people. So that's interesting, fun and fascinating. So I guess it's a culture within your business that is really important to you. Creating the right culture amongst people. They need to be business oriented. They need to educate themselves. They can't just crunch numbers all day long.
No.
They need to have an open view to what's actually going on there. What's going on out there, and how can they evolve with their clients to help them with their businesses. Is that okay?
And I think it's, I mean, you and I were talking about this earlier, but we, like, one of the things I believe in is role play. So we do it a lot internally, is we role play client meetings. And the reason being is that the example I gave you was that we just recruited a new chartered accountant. We went through, we did a bit of a scenario, and I said, cool, tell me the answer. Gave me 8 different accountancy terms in 2 paragraphs. I was like, the client doesn't understand any of those terms. No. That's not talking in plain English. Let's bring this back. This is how I would explain it. And unless you do that a lot, for me, that's the training that people need, and that's the thing that takes the most amount of time, and that's difficult. That is when you've got other workload on, and that's the challenge.
Can you still squeeze it? But I think role plays are great because you're taking people out of their comfort zones. No longer is it just reading about something and then thinking about it. You actually have to apply the knowledge and see what happens. But it's a safe environment because there's nobody there to judge you. If you get it wrong, well, you get it wrong. As long as you don't get it wrong in front of a client, you're fine. Cool. So what about highlights? Was there an absolute highlight in your career so far where you think, you know what, I have arrived, I've done it, it's great, what was it? What would you say was an absolute career highlight for you?
Do you know what? It's difficult because I still don't feel like we've achieved anything at all. So we get some people, my wife says to me sometimes, you're never happy. You've got these people, you've got this office, where's it going to stop? I'm like, well, I won't be happy until it's like world domination. I want to grow a much bigger business and help more people to have accountants the way we would do it. That's really it. But so I suppose if I was looking back at highlights, The Office was great, and I look at it from my mum's point of view. So my mum's she's a bit more likes the idea of managing director and what that means, and
the status of it.
And one of the things the story I always like is she had a sign done. We had a sign done for her, so she's got her own parking spot of her name on, and I think she felt then she'd arrived. But for me, I don't know. I haven't even started, so it doesn't really feel like I'm there. But getting the office we transitioned into now was a big step in terms of a cost, but when you get there, and it's funny because you can look back on budgets, as us accountants do, from years ago, and you see what you were paying in wages and what you're paying in wages now, and you think, well, do you know what? People have loved our service that much that they've supported us through that journey to where we are now. And I always come back to them, but you're only as good as what you're doing tomorrow. So it's can we continually improve to make sure that people continue to like what we're doing? So no, from that point of view, I can't say there's one particular moment, but I do think, if I think back to the early journey, when I remember being so poor that I had to ask my mum for a can of Coke, because when we were growing and we grew into our first premises, you've probably seen businesses like this, so tight. I think you do have to be slightly crazy and a bit, you have to believe that you've got the skills to make it work. Obviously planning and knowledge helps, but and I remember being so poor that I was asking my mum, can you spare me 50p for a can of Coke, and that kind of stuff. So it's small stories. So it's things like the first time I actually got paid in the month, and then when we created systems that allowed us to do that every month, and I was like, wow, this is what it's like to be a normal person again, where you get paid every month. This is years ago, but it's those small moments that I think you remember
that are memorable for you. Yeah, sometimes it's good to reflect, to understand where you're actually coming from and how far you've actually gone so far.
Yeah.
But so in terms of then your future evolution, you moving forward as a business, is there a number you have in mind, a certain size of company you have in mind that you want to grow into? Is there anything that you admire from another similar company where you say, this is like the top of the tree for me at the moment and this is where I want to go?
Yeah.
Is there something like that?
It's difficult to know. I mean, I've got... you guys will probably know this. You want to when you've got personal goals that you meet. Sometimes you can work backwards. You can say, well, this is what I want to earn. This is the kind of freedom I want in my business. How do we go about that? So I know what those numbers look like, and that's what we're working towards, say, in the next 5 years. But onwards in that, it's difficult to see. I always joke about world domination, but ultimately, I want freedom, the same as most business people. I want freedom from my people to be able to do a great job and also have a great life. And we were very lucky. We've got very low turnover in the team, so currently something's working, but you never know.
Good team retention.
But what's interesting about the accounting is very much the traditional way is the practices tend to get bigger by buying other practices, or you don't see many. You see a couple where their businesses at a certain level, let's say growing to 5 people, being a single accountant is very straightforward. If you're doing a good service, you can manage still being the prime person with all the bits. But doing what we're doing at the team we are now, I think has a lot of challenges to maintain profitability and also service levels, just because you need to create other me's or other mums, that kind of stuff. So in terms of growth, it's difficult to look at other companies and say, I want to do that. There is one that I get on very well with, who I see as almost like my mentor, and I'd love to be at that level, and we're quite a way off that yet. But and it's trying to take in those. It sort of inspire you, I suppose, to make that next jump. But
because as a company, I guess you can grow either through organic growth, so you add any 10, 20, 30% every year, or you grow through acquisition. That's what you mentioned earlier. So you just buy other accountancy firms and take them over and absorb them into your culture. Okay, that's interesting. So it's an open end for you, more or less. Have you given yourself a timeline of? No. I mean, I've got a very set. I mean, I am one of those sad people. I do write 5 goals down every day before I start the day. It's the first thing I do, and I tend to plan on 12 weeks. So I have a 12-week plan. There's a book on that I remember reading. It's one of the things I pulled from there, and I thought it was quite good. So there's always goals every day. I track the figures. I know where we are against those goals, but. Past the 5 years, I don't look too much other than have an idea of this is the kind of life I would like to be leading at that point personally, and seeing where that takes you. So it's difficult. Cool. So are there any events that are coming up that you would like to share with the audience? Anything that maybe have an open day, or maybe they can meet you somewhere? Is there anything that you want to share with them?
There's a couple of things I'd say. The first one is, because we are business people, one of the things we're super proud of is our network. So if we need a business coach, or if we need a guy that can lease your cars at a good price and is great. We know lots of people. So what we did about a year ago when we moved into our new office that had more space is we hold a networking meeting that's free to attend at the last Wednesday of every month in Waterlooville, and business people can come along and free cake and tea and drink and do that. Very informal, no pitches type thing, and I think it's good if you're just stepping into the networking world. It's a nice thing to do. So networking meeting once every Wednesday, last Wednesday of the month? Last Wednesday of the month every month. In your office, and your offices are where? Waterlooville, over in Hampshire. Okay. So that's Dan Heelan Associates in Waterlooville in Hampshire. Great. Okay. Well, Dan, it's been really interesting talking to you. Thank you much for your time. Thanks for having me. Cheers. And for you guys out there, remember what Dan said at the beginning when he said the easiest way is to really look at your tax bill and see, are you paying too many taxes? And is there any way that you can talk to somebody like Dan to reduce your tax bill to help you save some of the costs? That's it for this week. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again. Bye-bye.